The skies above Earth darkened as massive alien vessels materialized in orbit. Their sudden appearance triggered global panic. Communication systems worldwide flooded with emergency broadcasts as governments struggled to maintain order. The ships hung like metallic thunderclouds, their designs unlike anything human imagination had conceived, organic yet mechanical, with surfaces that rippled like liquid metal catching starlight. In the United Nations Emergency Council chamber, screens displayed the message that had arrived minutes earlier. The holographic projection showed a being with 4 arms and iridescent skin addressing humanity in perfect English. People of Earth, I'm High Counselor Zelta of the Galactic Council, representing the united civilizations of this sector. For centuries, we have observed your development with growing concern. Your species consumes resources at unsustainable rates, wages constant warfare, and demonstrates dangerous territorial aggression. The Council has voted. You will accept governance under our protectorate or face pacification. You have 48 Earth hours to respond. Secretary General Yoon stood frozen before the assembly of pale-faced world leaders. They've been watching us all this time. Defense ministers shouted over each other, while economists calculated the implications of protectorate status. Religious leaders proclaimed end times. Social media exploded with conspiracy theories alongside videos of the ships now visible to the naked eye from Earth's surface. Deep within a South Korean military bunker, Commander Ji-ho Park sat motionless as he reviewed the alien ultimatum for the 12th time. At 42, Ji-ho had earned his reputation through unconventional battlefield strategies during the resource wars. His office walls displayed no honors despite his decorated record, only a single photo of his late wife and daughter, lost in the Mumbai flooding. His secure line rang. Commander Park, this is a direct call from Secretary General Yoon. Your expertise is required immediately. Arrangements have been made for your transport. 12 hours later, Ji-ho entered an underground facility beneath the Swiss Alps, escorted by UN peacekeepers. The room contained faces he recognized from intelligence briefings, brilliant minds considered too unorthodox for traditional military hierarchies. Welcome to Project Longshot, said Dr. Kwon, a quantum physicist whose theories on dimensional physics had been rejected by mainstream science. We've been assembled because conventional thinking won't save humanity today. Ji-ho studied the others. Hana Nakamura, a teenage hacking prodigy expelled from 3 prestigious universities. Dr. Wonbin Lee, a weapons designer whose ethical concerns had ended his defense career. Mei Zhang, an agricultural engineer who had revolutionized vertical farming, and several others whose expertise spanned from xenolinguistics to guerrilla warfare. The Council vessels use technology centuries beyond our most advanced systems, Dr. Kwon explained, activating a holographic display showing scans of the alien ships. Their hulls contain materials unknown to our science. Their propulsion systems bend space-time itself. Then we can't fight them, Ji-ho stated plainly. That's the consensus upstairs. Dr. Wonbin nodded toward the ceiling. The world leaders are drafting surrender terms as we speak. Ji-ho approached the hologram, studying the alien fleet formations. These ships, they're positioned in perfect geometric patterns. Maximum efficiency for planetary coverage, offered Hana, who had been silent until now. No, Ji-ho moved his hand through the hologram, rotating the view. This isn't tactical positioning, it's ceremonial. They've arranged their ships for visual impact, not strategic advantage. The room grew quiet as implications sank in. They want to intimidate us, Ji-ho continued, which means psychological warfare matters to them, which means they think like us in some ways, Dr. Kwon smiled slightly. Or they think we think like them. A junior officer burst into the room. Commander Park! The aliens have deployed smaller craft. They're landing in major cities worldwide. The screens showed sleek pods descending toward Earth's surface. In Seoul, Tokyo, New York, Lagos, and 17 other population centers, the vehicles touched down in public squares. From each emerged tall 4-armed beings with translucent exoskeletons that glimmered under Earth's sun. They carried no visible weapons, but robotic drones hovered protectively around them. They're making first contact in person, whispered Dr. Kwon. Bold move. Jiho watched as the alien in Seoul approached a terrified group of officials. Its mouth didn't move, but its words boomed through speakers. We come as administrators, not conquerors. Resistance is unnecessary and inadvisable. A sudden flash on another screen drew everyone's attention. In Moscow's Red Square, military forces had approached too close to the alien delegation. A defense drone had activated, emitting a pulse that disabled electronics and left soldiers collapsed on the ground. Non-lethal response, Jiho noted. Interesting. Throughout the day, the team analyzed every move the aliens made. They catalogued technologies demonstrated, communication patterns, and responses to various human reactions. Jiho noticed the aliens seemed genuinely surprised when civilians in Mumbai offered them flowers as peace offerings. Late that night, while others rested, Jiho reviewed footage of the council ships. Something about their perfect formation bothered him. He ran simulations of space combat maneuvers against the alien positioning. "You see it too," said Hana, appearing beside him. Despite her youth, her eyes carried the weight of someone who had seen too much. Their formations are beautiful but brittle. No redundancy, no adaptive positioning. "When's the last time you think they faced actual resistance?" Jiho asked. "Based on their behavior. Centuries. Maybe millennia." Jiho nodded slowly. "Pull everything we have on their communication systems. I want to know if they're truly unified or if there are factions we can exploit." For the first time since the ships appeared, Jiho felt something unexpected. Hope. Not because he saw a path to victory, but because he recognized something in these advanced aliens. Complacency. The fatal flaw of every dominant power throughout human history. As dawn broke over the Alps, Jiho gathered his unlikely team. "The Council thinks they know us, but they've only observed us. They've never faced us." He pointed to the holographic display of Earth, surrounded by alien vessels. "Our greatest strength isn't our technology. It's that we've never stopped fighting. Each other, our environment, ourselves. We've survived by adaptation." He looked at each face in turn. "We have 40 hours before they expect an answer. Let's show them something they haven't seen in 1,000 years. Innovation born from desperation." Inside the converted Swiss chocolate factory, Jiho studied the alien delegation on screen. The Galactic Council representatives sat across from Earth's negotiation team in New York, their forearms folded in what humans had learned was a posture of authority. World leaders proposed amendments to the surrender terms, while the aliens dismissed each request with practiced patience. "Look at them," Jiho said to Hana, who was analyzing communication patterns between the alien ships. "They're not even listening. They're following a script." "Like customer service representatives with really good training," Hana replied without looking up from her screens. "All their responses come from the same playbook." Dr. Hyun Kim entered the room, his lab coat stained with an iridescent blue substance. At 62, Hyun had been South Korea's leading physicist before the Council arrived. Now he carried a piece of alien technology wrapped in protective fabric. "You'll want to see this," he said, placing the object on the table. He unwrapped it carefully to reveal a damaged drone recovered from a brief confrontation in Buenos Aires, where protesters had knocked it from the sky with nothing more sophisticated than well-aimed rocks. "We've been studying their tech for a week now," Hyun continued, "and there's something strange about it. It's advanced beyond our understanding. In some ways, but in others." He pointed to the drone's internal components. "In others, it's almost primitive." Jiho leaned closer. "What do you mean?" "Their quantum computing is incredible. But their security protocols?" Hyun shook his head. "They apparently haven't faced a serious cyber threat in so long that they've stopped innovating defenses." Hana's eyes widened. "Are you saying I could hack them?" "With some work, yes. They have no concept of zero-day exploits or the kinds of asymmetric warfare humans have developed fighting each other." Jiho paced the room, pieces falling into place. "So they're advanced, but stagnant." Over the next days, similar reports came in from around the world. A council communication relay captured in Kenya used incredible technology for transmission, but had vulnerability gaps a first-year computer science student could identify. Council weapons detected conventional explosives instantly but failed to register simple mechanical traps. In a secured bunker beneath the facility, Ji-ho assembled his growing team. Maps covered the walls showing Council ship positions and landing zones. Dr. Wonbin had reverse-engineered parts of the alien communication system, while Dr. Hayun had made significant progress understanding their energy weapons. "They're efficient," Ji-ho explained, "but predictable. For millennia, they've only faced civilizations that either surrendered immediately or fought conventionally and lost. They have no concept of guerrilla warfare." "Or human stubbornness," added May, who had discovered that Council environmental sensors could be fooled by certain plant compounds. Ji-ho nodded. "Remember how their ships are positioned in those perfect formations? We've confirmed they never change them. Not for tactical advantage, weather conditions, or any strategic reason. It's like they're following a 10,000-year-old military manual and never questioning it." "Perfect is the enemy of good," murmured Hayun. "Exactly. They've achieved such technological superiority that they stopped adapting. Meanwhile, humans have been fighting each other and surviving catastrophes for our entire history. We've never had the luxury of complacency." Ji-ho revealed his plan, not a direct confrontation, but 1,000 small acts of resistance exploiting the gaps in Council doctrine. Teams would capture more technology while avoiding direct battles. Earth would appear to be negotiating in good faith while secretly preparing. At a laboratory in former Taiwan, Hayun made the first breakthrough. Studying captured Council technology, he discovered their energy weapons used a crystalline focusing element that could be disrupted by specific frequencies. "It's like finding out Superman is vulnerable to kryptonite," Hayun explained over secure video. "Their weapons are incredibly advanced, but they all share this same weakness because they've never needed to address it." Meanwhile, in Kenya, Hana worked with local tech experts to crack Council communication protocols. "Their security is like a castle with impenetrable walls but no roof," she reported. "They've never conceived someone would attack from that angle." The Council remained oblivious, believing humans were simply processing their inevitable defeat. Their ambassadors continued reciting terms, while governance ships prepared administrative centers in major cities. In Buenos Aires, a Council transport landed to establish a regional headquarters. As four armed administrators disembarked, their security drones scanned for conventional threats, weapons, explosives, energy signatures. They didn't detect the simple mesh nets that local fishermen cast over them, shorting out their levitation systems with nothing more than seawater. The Council responded by doubling drone patrols, but they followed the exact same routes at precisely timed intervals. Within days, resistance cells worldwide knew how to track patrol patterns to the second. In his makeshift command center, Ji-ho received reports of similar small victories. Council technology captured, vulnerabilities identified, alien psychology studied and exploited. "They see us as primitive," he told his team during a global briefing. "That's their weakness. They measure advancement by technology alone, not adaptability or creativity. They expect us to either surrender completely or fight conventionally and lose." On the screens behind him, footage showed Council representatives becoming visibly frustrated at unexpected human negotiation tactics, deliberate mistranslations, scheduled disruptions, and seemingly irrational demands designed to study alien responses. "We're not just buying time," Ji-ho explained. "We're gathering intelligence with every interaction, and they don't even realize it." Dr. Wonbin displayed schematics of a Council command ship. Their vessels use standardized designs across their entire fleet. Once we understand the weaknesses in one, we understand them all. What none of them expected was the discovery May made while studying Council food supplies. The aliens required trace elements not found naturally on Earth. Their massive ships weren't just military vessels. They were walking ecological disasters, depleting resources from thousands of conquered worlds. "They need us to surrender quickly. Because they're running out of supplies," May realized. "Their entire empire is built on constant expansion. They're not just conquerors. They're consumers who've burned through countless worlds." Ji-ho looked at the data and saw their first real advantage. "Then we don't need to defeat them militarily. We just need to make Earth too costly to subdue." As Council ambassadors continued reciting surrender terms to Earth's official representatives, Ji-ho's network prepared for the first coordinated act of resistance. not with battleships or nuclear weapons, but with thousands of small, unpredictable actions that the Council's ancient tactical doctrine had no framework to counter. "For they've forgotten what it's like to fight for survival," Jiho told his team. "We're about to remind them." The Council's patience finally snapped on a rainy Tuesday morning. Without warning, precision energy beams sliced through Earth's atmosphere, vaporizing military bases across 6 continents simultaneously. Massive explosions lit up the sky as humanity's conventional defenses were systematically eliminated. The message was clear: negotiations were over. In his underground command center, Jiho watched calmly as reports flooded in. The Council had followed exactly the tactical doctrine his team had predicted, targeting military command centers first, communication hubs second, and energy infrastructure third. Textbook invasion strategy, unchanged for millennia. "They took the bait," he said quietly. 3 weeks earlier, most of Earth's actual military leadership had relocated to decentralized bunkers disguised as civilian infrastructure. The bases destroyed were largely evacuated shells, maintained only to appear operational on Council scans. Jiho activated the secure global network they'd built. Operation Thunderclap is now active. All units proceed as planned. Across the globe, unlikely resistance. Cells sprang into action. In Mumbai, harbor workers commandeered fishing vessels loaded with homemade electromagnetic pulse devices. In Alaska, oil rig workers repurposed drilling equipment into makeshift weapons. None of these preparations had registered on Council scans, which were calibrated to detect advanced technology, not repurposed primitive tools. Above the Pacific Ocean, a Council battlecruiser moved into position to destroy naval facilities in Pearl Harbor. Its sensors suddenly detected dozens of small aircraft approaching, civilian jetliners, on what appeared to be collision courses. The Council commander followed protocol, activating defensive shields against the primitive threat. What the aliens didn't expect was that the planes weren't meant to break through their shields. Each aircraft had been gutted and filled with a specific mixture of chemicals that, when vaporized by the shield's energy field, created a dense fog that blocked the battlecruiser's optical sensors. In the momentary confusion, submarines hidden below launched modified torpedoes carrying the frequency disruptors Hayun had developed. The battlecruiser's shields flickered and failed. It wasn't destroyed, but it was forced to retreat for repairs, the first Council vessel to withdraw from combat in over 300 years. "Keep them off balance," Jiho instructed his global command team. "Never let them establish rhythm or pattern." In Seoul, Tae Woo-song led a team of hackers who had cracked the Council's communication protocols. Just 30 years old, with wild hair constantly falling into his eyes, Tae Woo had been considered a criminal by most governments before the invasion. Now he was humanity's digital spearhead. "Their encryption is incredibly complex," he explained to his team, "but they've never updated it. They've never needed to. It's like they built the perfect lock 3,000 years ago and assumed no one would ever learn to pick it." The hackers infiltrated the Council's command network, not to destroy it, but to subtly alter navigational data, supply calculations, and tactical assessments. Council ships began receiving conflicting orders. Supply vessels delivered resources to the wrong locations. Reinforcements arrived at coordinates where they weren't needed. Meanwhile, Captain Soo-Jin Lee led special forces teams equipped with technology that seemed primitive by Council standards: bows with carbon fiber arrows, hand-cranked generators, mechanical traps, nothing that would trigger the aliens' advanced detection systems. "They're looking for energy signatures, radiation, electromagnetic fields," Soo-Jin briefed her soldiers. "They're not looking for pulleys and levers." Her teams infiltrated Council landing zones using techniques borrowed from Earth's oldest hunting cultures. They moved with the patience of predators, setting mechanical traps that snared alien scouts, and sabotaged equipment without triggering alarms. In orbit, the Council commander Zeltor faced the first serious challenge of his 500-year career. His perfect formations were being disrupted by swarms of converted Earth vessels, cargo ships, cruise liners, even private yachts, on apparent suicide runs against his fleet. "This is primitive desperation," he assured his subordinates. "Their strategy lacks sophistication. But each destroyed Earth vessel scattered clouds of metallic particles calibrated to interfere with Council sensors. Each seemingly futile attack gathered data on Council response patterns, and occasionally a modified Earthship would get close enough to deliver Hayun's disruptors, temporarily disabling Council systems. The Council's response was to escalate, deploying hunter-killer drones to eliminate resistance leaders. But the drones, programmed to target command structures and communication hubs, found themselves hunting ghosts. Earth's resistance had no central command post, no key infrastructure to destroy. "Sir," reported a Council tactical officer, "we're expending resources at 16 times the projected rate." The humans should have surrendered after the first strike. Zeltor's translucent skin darkened with anger. "They're savages with limited technology. How are they continuing to resist?" The answer came from an unexpected source, a Council anthropologist who had studied human history. "Commander, humans have been fighting each other continuously throughout their evolution. Their entire history is an unbroken chain of warfare, adaptation and survival against overwhelming odds. They've developed countless methods of asymmetric combat. In his hidden command center, Jiho received reports of Council supply ships withdrawing to conserve resources. Their perfectly choreographed invasion was becoming a messy war of attrition they hadn't planned for. They expected to fight an inferior version of themselves, Jiho told his staff. Instead, they're fighting something they've never encountered, a species that evolved through constant conflict and catastrophe. The Council's frustration manifested in increasingly desperate tactics. They destroyed dams and power plants, hoping to break human morale. Instead, communities adapted, using pre-industrial technologies the Council couldn't easily detect. A month into the conflict, Council records officially redesignated Earth from standard pacification to extended engagement, the first such reclassification in over 2,000 years. During a rare moment of respite, Hayun approached Jiho with new findings. Their ships are starting to show signs of resource depletion. They planned for a quick victory, not a prolonged campaign. "And that's our real advantage," Jiho replied. "They need quick victories because their entire empire is built on efficient consumption of resources. We just need to hold out until the cost becomes prohibitive." Across Earth, humans continued their chaotic, unpredictable resistance. Ancient hunting techniques were combined with modern engineering knowledge. Digital attacks were paired with physical sabotage. The Council, with all its technological superiority, found itself fighting thousands of small battles with no central target to eliminate. "We're not trying to win," Jiho reminded his commanders during a global briefing. "We're trying to make them lose. There's a difference." As Operation Thunderclap entered its 6th week, the first signs of discord appeared. In Council communications, some ships were questioning orders. Supply vessels were competing for dwindling resources. The perfect, unified response was beginning to fracture under the strain of humanity's relentless, chaotic resistance. 2 months into the conflict, Jiho stood before screens displaying intercepted Council communications. The once unified alien force was showing cracks in its perfect facade. Supply ships fought over dwindling resources. Battle reports were being falsified to hide failures. Most significantly, several Council species had begun questioning the wisdom of the Earth campaign. "Their unified front is breaking down," Taewu explained, decrypting new transmissions. "Look at this. The Vordani representatives are openly criticizing Commander Zeltor's tactics." The Vordani, 6-limbed beings with crystalline skin, had apparently evolved on a harsh world not unlike Earth. Their military advisor had filed formal protests about the escalating conflict costs. Jiho studied the aliens' translated words carefully. "The humans display adaptability unprecedented in our records. Continued aggression is resource inefficient and contradicts Council founding principles of incorporating valuable evolutionary traits into our collective." "They're impressed by us," Hayun said with surprise. "Some of them are," Jiho corrected. "Others are just angry they're losing." That night, something unprecedented occurred. A small Vordani scout ship deliberately entered Earth airspace with shields lowered, a universal sign of non-aggression. Before Council forces could intercept it, the vessel transmitted a massive data package directly to a receiver Taewu had established then self-destructed to avoid capture. The data contained Council military codes, fleet positions, and most crucially, internal communications revealing deep divisions among the ruling species. The Vodani weren't alone in their concern. At least 3 other Council races had begun questioning the Earth campaign. They've never encountered a species that forced them to question their methods, Hayun realized as they analyzed the data. We're not just fighting them, we're changing them. The intelligence proved invaluable, allowing Earth forces to predict Council movements and avoid major confrontations while striking vulnerable supply chains. For 2 weeks, humanity's resistance gained momentum, with Council losses mounting at unsustainable rates. Then came the transmission that changed everything. Commander Zeltor, his career and reputation in tatters, addressed the Council High Command. The Earth situation requires decisive resolution. I am activating the Genesis Protocol. Even through the translation, Jiho could hear the gasps from other Council members. One 4-armed representative physically lunged toward Zeltor. The Genesis Protocol is forbidden. It violates our most sacred covenant. Taewoo's team scrambled to decrypt the reference protocol. When they succeeded, the room fell silent. It's a planet killer, Taewoo whispered. A weapon that reconfigures matter at the atomic level. It would convert Earth's biosphere into raw materials for harvest. The Council's founding charter explicitly prohibited such weapons, created during their earliest wars and sealed away as too horrific to use. But Zeltor had authorization codes, and his humiliation had driven him to desperation. In the Council transmission, the debate raged. Many representatives condemned the proposal, but Zeltor's supporters argued that Earth's resistance qualified as an existential threat, justifying extreme measures. The vote is deadlocked, reported Sujin, monitoring the Council's emergency session. Half want to recall Zeltor immediately, the others support him. Jiho watched the aliens argue, seeing not all-powerful conquerors, but politicians caught in the same bureaucratic traps that had plagued human governments for millennia. This is our moment, he said quietly. They're distracted and divided. Jiho unveiled his most audacious plan yet, Operation Lightning Strike. While the Council remained paralyzed by internal conflict, Earth would launch a direct attack on Zeltor's flagship, the massive vessel coordinating the invasion. This isn't about destroying it, Jiho explained to skeptical commanders. It's about capturing it. If we control their command ship, we can access their entire network. The plan required perfect coordination of Earth's remaining resources. Converted submarines carrying special forces would approach underneath the flagship while it hovered over the Pacific. Taewoo's hackers would create sensor ghosts to distract defending ships. Hayun's disruptor technology, now refined after months of testing, would temporarily disable the flagship's shields. It's insane, Sujin said bluntly. Exactly, Jiho nodded. Which is why they won't expect it. The operation launched during what would have been dawn over the Pacific. Across Earth, resistance cells executed diversionary attacks, drawing Council attention to dozens of false priorities. Meanwhile, 20 submarines silently approached the massive flagship, which stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern. Aboard the lead submarine, Sujin briefed her strike team. We'll have exactly 8 minutes while their shields are down. The extraction point will only be accessible during that window. The Council, still deadlocked in emergency session, had divided its fleet between Zeltor's loyalists and those opposing the Genesis Protocol. Several ships had actually begun positioning to intercept the flagship if it attempted to deploy the forbidden weapon. When Hayun activated the disruptors, the flagship's shields flickered and failed. Sensors across the Council fleet registered the vulnerability, but with their command structure in chaos, responses were uncoordinated and slow. Sujin's team launched from the submarines using modified propulsion systems that left minimal energy signatures. They reached the flagship's hull and located the maintenance access point, identified in the Vordani intelligence. Inside, they encountered alien crew members unprepared for physical combat. Council species had relied on automated security for so long that most had lost the instinct for close-quarters fighting. The human strike team fought their way to the command center, where Zeltor was preparing to override the safety protocols preventing Genesis deployment. The alien commander turned in shock as humans burst into his sanctum, an impossibility according to all Council military doctrine. "Surrender!" Sujin demanded, her weapon aimed at the console. Zeltor lunged for the controls instead. The ensuing firefight left the command center damaged but operational, with Zeltor wounded and restrained. "Flagship secure," Sujin reported through the now open communication channel. "Their commander is in custody." The news reached the Council emergency session in real time. The sight of their invasion commander captured by primitives triggered immediate action. The moderate Council factions seized control, ordering all Loyalist vessels to stand down. In his command center, Ji-Ho watched as Council ships began withdrawing. From Earth orbit, not in defeat but in disarray, their unified purpose shattered. "Access their network," he ordered Taewoo. "Download everything before they can lock us out." The data streaming from the captured flagship revealed the full extent of Council operations across the galaxy, and more importantly, the growing schism Ji-Ho's resistance had triggered within their ranks. "We didn't just fight them to a standstill," Ha-Yun said in amazement. "We may have changed their entire civilization." As Council ships retreated to regroup, Earth gained something it hadn't dared hope for just months earlier: time and leverage. The cost had been devastating, with millions dead and infrastructure destroyed, but humanity had accomplished the impossible. They had shown the Galactic Council something it hadn't seen in 10,000 years: the power of adaptation born from struggle. 6 months after the capture of Zeltor's flagship, Ji-Ho stood at the viewport of the transport vessel, approaching the Galactic Council's headquarters. The massive structure orbited a neutron star, drawing power from its incredible energy output. Built from materials that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states, the station gleamed like a jewel against the darkness of space. "Hard to believe we're here as diplomats, not prisoners," Taewoo said, adjusting the formal attire that felt strange after months in underground bunkers. Ji-Ho nodded, watching as their transport was escorted by ships representing various Council factions. The constitutional crisis triggered by the Earth conflict had reshaped Council politics. The faction that had opposed Zeltor's extremism now held majority power, pushing reforms unimaginable just a year earlier. "They're calling it the Great Awakening," Ha-Yun said, reviewing the translated Council news feeds. "Our resistance forced the first serious self-examination they've undertaken in millennia. The human delegation included representatives from every continent, scientists, military strategists, and cultural experts, chosen not by political position, but by demonstrated adaptability during the conflict. Earth's old power structures had been as transformed by the war as the Council's. Their vessel docked at the diplomatic bay, where representatives of 17 Council species waited to greet them. The Vordani delegation stepped forward first, their crystalline bodies refracting light in patterns that humans now understood, expressed respect. "The Council acknowledges the unique evolutionary path of humanity," the Vordani speaker announced. "We have much to learn from each other." The grand chamber of the Council stretched beyond human architectural scale, with seating for hundreds of species arranged in concentric rings. At the center stood the speaker's platform, where for 10,000 years only the most established civilizations had been permitted to address the assembly. Today, for the first time, a representative of an emergent civilization would stand. There Ji-Ho walked the long transparent bridge to the platform, acutely aware that every movement was being analyzed by beings whose evolutionary paths had diverged from humanity's billions of years ago. Some resembled insects, others were gaseous entities contained in mechanical shells, and a few defied human categorization entirely. "The Council recognizes Ji-Ho Park of Earth," announced the Assembly Coordinator, a 12-limbed being whose species had helped found the Council. Ji-Ho took a moment to survey the chamber before speaking. 10 months ago, your ships appeared in our skies. You came expecting submission from what you considered a primitive species. Today, I stand before you not as a conquered subject, but as a partner in what I hope will become a new understanding between our civilizations." The chamber remained silent, thousands of alien representatives listening through translation devices. "Humanity's history is marked by constant struggle," against our environment, against each other, against our own nature. We've made terrible mistakes. We've caused suffering. But through this crucible we developed our greatest strength, adaptability. Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing moments from human history, cave paintings beside space launches, ancient warfare beside modern cooperation. Your civilization achieved stability and unity thousands of years ago. This brought tremendous benefits but also stagnation. You stopped evolving because you no longer needed to. Earth showed you something you had forgotten, that strength comes, not just from technological advancement, but from facing challenges and changing to overcome them. Several council species shifted uncomfortably, the truth of his words resonating despite cultural differences. The new council charter creates a category for emergent civilizations. Earth accepts this designation proudly. We are emerging, still growing, still learning, still adapting, and we offer this dynamism as our contribution to galactic society. When Jiho finished speaking, the chamber erupted in the varied sounds of hundreds of species, signaling approval. The Council's unanimous vote that followed formalized Earth's unique status, neither a full member nor a subject world, but a new category that recognized humanity's potential to contribute despite its technological limitations. In the months that followed, the relationship between Earth and the Council transformed galactic society. Human technologies were primitive compared to Council standards, but human approaches to problem-solving shocked the older civilizations. When a virulent pathogen threatened a Council agricultural world, Earth scientists suggested intentionally evolving counter-pathogens, a chaotic, unpredictable approach that horrified Council biologists but ultimately saved the planet's ecosystem. When pirates using stolen Council technology raided shipping lanes, Zojin led mixed-species teams using modified Earth guerrilla tactics that the pirates' advanced systems couldn't counter. Most significantly, humans began helping Council species rediscover their own adaptability. Recreation of Earth's art, music, and competitive sports spread through Council worlds, introducing concepts of creative chaos that had been engineered out of their societies over millennia. 1 year after the conflict, Jiho stood on the observation deck of the new Earth Embassy station. Below, the recovering Earth sparkled with lights. Above, Council ships arrived daily bringing knowledge, technology, and representatives, eager to understand the species that had changed the course of galactic history. Ha-Yun joined him, carrying data tablets. The Council's xenobiologists want to establish research exchanges. They're particularly interested in how human neural pathways develop through constant adaptation. And what do we get in exchange? Jiho asked. Clean energy technology that will help us rebuild faster, medical advances, and something they've never offered another emerging species, access to their historical archives. Tewu arrived with his own report. The Vodani are proposing joint military exercises. They want to reintroduce unpredictability into their tactical planning. Jiho smiled. They're learning. The transport bay signaled an incoming shuttle, carrying the first group of human students selected to study at the Council's Central University. Among them were children who had lost homes and families during the conflict, now given opportunities beyond anything humanity had imagined before the invasion. We paid a terrible price, Jiho said quietly. Millions dead, cities destroyed. But we survived, Ha-Yun replied. More than survived, we changed the course of galactic history. Below them, Earth continued its recovery, cities being rebuilt with a blend of human design and Council technology. Council environmental experts worked alongside Earth scientists to heal damage from both the conflict and centuries of human abuse. The invasion that had been intended to subjugate humanity had instead forced both civilizations to evolve, the humans accelerating their technological development, the Council rediscovering the adaptation that had once made them great. As night fell over the Pacific, lights from reconstruction projects outlined the coastlines. Above, Council ships moved in new formations, no longer the rigid geometric patterns of before, but flexible, adaptive configurations developed with human input. They came to change us, Jiho said, watching the ships maneuver. Instead, we changed each other. Across the galaxy, species that had once dismissed humans as primitive barbarians now studied Earth's history and culture, seeking to understand how adversity created strength. The Council, which had not faced a serious challenge in 10,000 years, began deliberately introducing controlled disruption into its systems to prevent stagnation. And on Earth, humans looked to the stars not with fear, but with anticipation, ready to take their hard-earned place among the civilizations of the galaxy, not as conquerors or subjects, but as teachers of the power of adaptation. Reminder Taosti.